Okay guys, here's our video on adjacent and vertical angles. So we're going to be talking about what adjacent and vertical angles are and a couple problems on how to use them or find other angles based on these angle relationships. Okay, make sure you write your title on the top of your piece of paper, and I'm going to move on to our definitions. We have two definitions I want you to write down. First definition is adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a common vertex and a common side. So your vertex would be the point where the angle changes directions. That's called a vertex. And then your common side, in this case, would be the side that is between these two. Okay, so we have angle A and angle B. They would be adjacent angles. Adjacent is kind of next to. Okay, so it's angles that are next to each other. So they would be adjacent angles. Alright, in this case, there are angles that create a larger angle. So we have a larger angle here. Okay, if you take the outside ones, that's a larger angle, which is made up of A and B. A and B are the adjacent angles that create the larger angle that you have there. Okay, so two angles that are basically next to each other. They must share a common vertex and a common side. The common side people don't struggle with, but it's that common vertex that you have to remember. They have to originate at the same point there. Okay, so those are adjacent angles. So you'll be identifying angles that are adjacent to each other. Now, vertical angles are the angles opposite each other in intersecting lines. So here we have our intersecting lines. There's one intersecting line. There's another. It's the angles opposite of each other. Okay? Vertical angles are congruent, which means that they have the same measure. Okay? So that is what congruent means. Same measure. So in this example, we have two sets of vertical angles. We have angle A and angle B are vertical angles because they are opposite each other. They are congruent. They are the same measure. So let's say they're 30. If their A was 30 degrees, B would also be 30 degrees. The other set of vertical angles is angle C and angle D. And they are also congruent. Notice I use two marks on those because I want them to be different than A and B, which only have one mark. Okay? So they are congruent. So if they were the same measure, let's say C was 140 degrees, then D would also be 140 degrees. Okay? So we have two sets of vertical angles in this example. Okay? There's our definitions. Make sure you write those down. Pause if you need to. Otherwise, I'm going on to our examples. Okay, in our first example, we're going to be finding adjacent and vertical angles. So all we're going to be doing is identifying them. Okay? So question A, find the angles adjacent to angle 1. So first I'm going to find angle 1, which is there. Then I'm going to find the angles that is adjacent to them. Okay? So if there's one angle, the one next to it would be angle 2. That is also next to angle 1. They're next to each other. So angle 2 would be 1. I've looked to see if there's any more. Oh, angle 3 right here. Angle 3 is also next to angle 1. They share this point right in the middle and this common side right here. So angle 3 would also be. Angle 4 would be not. They share the vertex but not a common side. And all the angle 5, 6, 7, 8 are on the other side. So it would be angle 2 and angle 3 would be the adjacent angles to angle 1. Okay? Find the angles adjacent to angle 7. So here's angle 7 right here. So which ones are adjacent to that? Well, our first one here would be here and here. So that would be angle 5. And then also this angle here and angle there. So that would be angle 8. So those would be the angles adjacent to angle 7. Okay, they share the side and the vertex to those. Okay, C. Find the angle vertical to angle 5. So here's angle 5. What's vertical? Vertical means opposite intersecting lines. Here's one line. Here's the other line. So the one opposite would be that one. So that would be angle 8. Angle 8 and angle 5 are vertical angles. Okay, and D, find the angle measure the angle that is vertical to angle 4. So here's angle 4. Here's the intersecting line. There's the intersecting line. So the one opposite that would be angle 1. And that would be your answer for D. Okay, so we have our adjacent angles are the first two, and then vertical angles as our next two types of problems. Okay, if you need to pause to copy that down, go ahead. Otherwise, I will be moving on to our last example. In example 2, we're going to find using the imaginary angles, finding using our vertical angles. Okay? So, in this example, we have find the measure of angle 1. So here's angle 1 right here. So that is opposite that angle. Okay, of course I made that so we can't read it anymore. That is opposite that angle right there. Okay, so what do we know about vertical angles? Vertical angles are opposite each other and they are congruent, which means they have the same angle measure. So this one would be 73 degrees. That's it. Okay? Same measure. That's it. 73. You're done. No extra math to do that, just identifying. Okay? B. Find the value of x. So in this one we want to find the value of x. So we have our intersecting lines, which means these two angles are vertical to each other. Vertical means they're congruent, which means they equal each other. So now I have to write an algebraic problem to answer it. X plus 22 equals 142. This angle, x plus 22, is the same as or equals 142. Then you subtract 22 from both sides. That's how we solve it when we're adding. So x equals 120. So what's the value of x? X is 120. Okay? Now, the angle measure, if I wanted to know the angle measure, would be 120 plus 22, which would be 142 degrees. So there's a difference between the angle measure and the value of x. The value of x is what x equals in the problem. The angle measure is what the whole angle equals, which would be that 120 plus 22. So you have to pay attention to what the problem's asking for so you know what you're answering. Okay? If you need to go back and watch anything again, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later.